Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm happy to be here. Well, it's tough. I record these intros. I usually record the interview the week before, and here's a little look behind the curtain. And then I record the intros on Mondays, but if I'm on the road, that means I'm flying back. Like I flew back from Atlanta yesterday, and I watched a bunch of football. I didn't sleep last night, and then try to rally and get that high energy intro going. It's a little rough. It's a little rough, but I'm digging in. That's what you do in life. Sometimes somebody once said to me, very wise words, is do not wait for inspiration. If you're a creative person, just start working. And once you get going in the process, whether you open a page, a new doc on your computer and start typing, or whether you get some clay and you throw it on the fucking whatever you put clay on, you just get it going. The inspiration will meet you halfway, but you gotta meet the inspiration halfway. You can't sit on your ass waiting for it to hit you, because guess what? It ain't coming. I can tell you that from the pandemic. That pandemic, I sat on my ass looking out the window going, where's that inspiration? Where's that fucking Bo Burnham inspiration where you shoot a special in your own house during a worldwide pandemic? It never came. So I didn't get shit done during that time. But now that the pandemic's over, I just show up. One foot in front of the other. And today's no different. I started writing this script halfway through. I started getting excited. Started thinking about this. Atlanta was great. I'm coming off a high because the punchline there, it used to be in this club that was around for like 35 years. I mean, it's a club that everybody started at. Seinfeld and Chris Rock and everybody came up and they worked at the Atlanta Punchline. It was one of the A rooms. And then about, 6-7 years ago, they lost the lease. I think they knocked it down. And now they're in a slightly smaller room. It's got a great diner next door, but the spirit lives on. It's still like this really magic, fun club. The Atlanta crowds are fucking great. Buckhead, it's in Buckhead, which is a kind of cool part of town. And this guy reached out to me from a place called Floasis, and it's a deprivation tank spa type of a situation, and he asked me if I wanted to come in, and I had done it once before in San Francisco, and I said, shit, yeah, man, let me get my relaxation on. So Saturday I went in there, and you go into a room and you strip down naked. Well, first the woman shows you the room. You don't strip down in front of the woman, and she explains how it works, which is pretty simply. You take a shower and then you get into this tub, which it looks like an egg that's cracked in half and opens up on a hinge. And you climb into this water that's like maybe a degree above your body temperature. And it's full of salt. And you float. And then you close the top and it goes pitch black, dead silent. And you float for an hour. You just are there with your thoughts, which sounds like a nightmare to some people. But somehow it became very meditative. I got real focused on this 1 hour special that I'm doing in 2 weeks. I started seeing what the set was, what it was all about. It started coming to me, and I just felt great. I got out of there after an hour. I got to thank the people over there that brought me in. Real fun. It was nice. And then I got back to the hotel, and I'm just sitting on the couch, chilling out, doing nothing. Sometimes I do that on the road. I just sit on the couch and do nothing. I just let my mind go. And I started crying. Wow. Where did that come from? I wasn't expecting that. I mean, not like sobbing, but my eyes welled up and tears started coming down my face. And I felt, but it wasn't bad tears. It felt like my emotions were trying to say, hey, Fitzdog, you got a lot going on right now. You're under a lot of pressure. You're putting yourself under a lot of pressure. And you need to feel it. You got to let it out. And then I was kind of digging the crying. I was like, wow, I hadn't cried in a while. And I felt this nice release. Do I sound stuffed up? I think I'm getting another fucking cold. And so I opened up my computer and I pulled up some videos of soldiers coming home to their kids. Oh, are you kidding me? Are you joking with me? Now I'm sobbing. Now the tears are coming out. And all the emotions are flowing. Because I had an acting teacher that once said to me, emotions are not, there's not a bunch of different faucets. And you get to turn on happy and you get to turn on joy. No, you turn on one faucet and all the emotions come out. Sadness, rage, everything. They're all coming out of one tap. And it's either on or it's off. And so the tears make you feel kind of euphoric afterwards. I'm surprised. I mean, it's a reason why we go to see sad movies. And there's a reason why you feel kind of guilty for feeling good after funerals because you've been crying and letting out emotions, and now all the other emotions kind of come into play and they get mixed in with it. So I remember that movie. What was the movie where the kid, he's like a teenage boy and he used to go to funerals and then he meets an old lady? Harold and Maude. If you never saw Harold and Maude, it's kind of about this. It's about them seeking the feelings of a funeral together. A very iconic movie. Okay, so I did that. And then I had a bunch of friends come out this weekend. I had friends from Tarrytown, New York show up. One woman brought like 20 friends with her, which was really nice. And then my buddy Frank Jackson, we used to call him Pinhead in high school. He was one of my best friends. He's a fucking great dude. Came down with his wife, and we got to catch up. Went to the diner after the show with my other buddy Pete Scott from college. He was there with about 5 friends. Got a big table, hung out. And who else? A bunch of people. Oh, yeah, and then my friend Patty from college came out. And another guy from college came, and he brought me a bunch of CDs, and they were my appearances from the Howard Stern show. He had them saved on CDs, and he gave them to me, which was a beautiful gift because I don't have any of that shit on record. I did the Stern show like 50 times, and I don't have any record of any of those recordings. And so now I do. I don't know how many there are. He gave me it was a stack of 4 or 5 CDs filled with appearances. So looking forward to listening to that at some point. I did a radio interview while I was in town with a guy who was very effusive to the point where he kept saying how funny I was, and he kept kind of harping on, why aren't I bigger? You're so hilarious. Why aren't you like Tom Segura or these guys? How come you're not like why aren't you successful? And I was like, hey man, I'm doing just fine. Sold out a bunch of the shows this weekend. Felt good. Didn't need to be compared to Tom Segura. Not too many people can be compared to Tom. Compare and despair. That's what they say in the AA rooms. I'll tell you that much. So he was very upset that I wasn't bigger, and I'm sorry. I felt bad for him that I wasn't bigger. I'll have to work harder. So I got the 1 hour special coming. I'm taping it a week from Sunday, and if you're in the LA area on February 5th, I highly encourage you to go to. Last week I announced it, and the ticket link was not live for some stupid reason, but now it's live, and if you go to Fitzdog.com, you can get tickets. Come out. There's 2 shows. One's at 7:30. One's at 9:30, I think, or 7 and 9:30. But go to the site and get yourself some tickets. I want to sell out both shows. I think we got Andrew Santino is going to open up one of the shows, and then I got to ask somebody else. To do the other show, and we're going to have a blast. It's the best, all my best material that I haven't done since the last special, which was like maybe 6 years ago because of the pandemic. So I got a lot to pull from. I nailed it this week. I did it. We did 6 shows in Atlanta, 3 shows on Saturday night. And I just kept running it and tweaking it and poring over the spreadsheet and listening to the audio the next day. And I feel really good about it. I'm really excited about the special. And I'm going to have the weekend in Portland. If you're in the Portland, Oregon area this weekend, I'll be up there doing the hour again. And I should forewarn you, if you saw me last year and you're expecting all new material, it's going to be some older stuff as well because it's the hour. It's the best hour, but it's a great hour. So come out either way. And that's January 26th to the 28th in Portland. And then one night, February 2nd in La Jolla, doing the hour one final time. And then I got dates coming up in Philly and Boston. If you go to Fitzdog.com, you can get all that stuff. Anyway, big stuff coming up on the show. We got Sam Morrell is coming in, I think, next week. And I think we got Nick Swartz in the week after that. Just in time for Black History Month. I'll get more white guys in. I just had Ian Edwards. I can't always plan out Black History Month. I feel sorry for black guys that their phone is ringing off the hook in February. You know, those guys come in year round on Fitzdog Radio. I don't wait for February. Jesus. I could use more black women on the show. Leslie Jones came on this year, and I think maybe I'll have Candace back on. She's great. Anyway, whatever. I don't want to get into the booking of the show, but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. I'm watching a great series with my wife. It's an Irish series called Bad Sisters, and it's on, I don't know what it's on, Apple Plus maybe? But one of the stars, there's like 5 sisters, and one of the stars is Bono's fucking daughter. And let me tell you something. Her name is Eve Hewen or something. She's spectacular. She is riveting, charming. I'm in love with her. I'm in love with her in the way that you love a daughter. She just is. I'm enamored with her talent and her subtlety and her joy that comes through her face, her caring. She is a great actress. If you've never seen her in anything, I guess she's been in a bunch of shows. She was in what was the show about a hospital in the turn of the century? Jinx? Was it Jinx? No, that was something else. The Nick? I think it was called The Nick. Anyway, check out that series. I think you'll really enjoy it. I had my dryer fixed, and it was about $600 and something. Did I talk about this? It was last week. And the guy came in, and he was a Russian dude. And I don't know if he ripped me off. I called around. It seemed like he was in the ballpark. It's a 2-year-old dryer, just out of warranty. And it cost me $50 to fix. Fucking pissed me off. And then the guy starts asking me what I do for a living, and I say I'm a comedian. And then I go out back to get something. I come back into the laundry room, and the guy's watching my stand-up on YouTube on his phone. I'm like, is this necessary? Is that my check will clear? You don't need to fucking research my career. But then again, I checked his career. I checked his background. Maybe he's checking mine. He thought I was funny, though. He said his favorite comic was Anthony Jeselnik, which I was like, wow, that would not have been my first choice for a guy who's really wrestling with the English language. But he likes Anthony. I was very impressed by that. And then I had another guy come over today, Aradio, who's our handyman. And all of our gates around the house, there's about 4 or 5 gates that surround the property. And they all got bloated because we've had so much rain this month that they're not metal gates. And we need to get metal gates. Because every time it rains like crazy like this, they get bloated and then they don't close. And so you have to smash it shut with your foot. And so he's got to sand down the edges, and then the rain stops, and then the wood contracts, and then it doesn't close, and then you got to add filler. It's a fucking nightmare. So I know I say nightmare. I say it funny. Nightmare. So money pouring out. Pouring into the house. That's the thing about it. Houses are fucking money pits. Can I say fucking more on this podcast? Let's do some overheards. Here's one from Dalton Reeder. I was in line for a $30 2-minute helicopter ride at some carnival in rural Indiana. Family of 5 behind me. 5 mullets, oil-stained blue jeans, not a set of full teeth in the bunch. They start talking about people who died in helicopter crashes. All right, that sounds like a fair conversation at that moment. Oldest kid said to the dad, so there was Stevie Ray Vaughan. Yup. Leonard Skinnard. Dad says, no, that was a plane crash. Kobe Bryant? With complete sincerity, the dad asked, was that Luke Bryan's brother? And here's how unrednecky I am. I don't even know who Luke Bryan is. Is that a country singer? I don't know. But, I mean, that is what... First of all, if you're spending $30 on a helicopter ride, you're not paying enough. You should shop around for somebody with higher standards. You don't want bargain basement helicopter rides. There more than just those people died. There was Bill Graham, the famous rock producer out of San Francisco. He died in a helicopter. Who else? Well, there was the Day the Music Died. You know that song, The Day the Music Died, about the 3P. There was Buddy Holly, which, by the way, Buddy Holly, the influence he had on rock and roll is immeasurable. He was 22 years old when he died. He was with Richie Havens in that plane. Richie Havens from La Bamba. Guess how old he was? Fucking 17. Yeah. And then the Big Bopper. I don't know how old the Big Bopper was, but they all went down on a plane. And the crazy thing was there was some kind of story about a coin toss about who went up. And Waylon Jennings was supposed to get in the plane, lost a coin toss, so didn't get in, and the other guy got in and died. Isn't that crazy? Otis Redding, Jim Croce, Leonard Skinnard, obviously. I think 3 members of Leonard Skinnard died. And the crazy thing about that was the same week that they died, I don't know if it was like the week before or the week after the plane accident, they had an album come out that was called like something Survivor. And it showed there was like 6 or 7 people in Leonard Skinnard, and it showed them with flames around them. Isn't that insane? I think it came out like the week before the accident. John F. Kennedy Jr. died, and he took my friend Carolyn with him. Carolyn Bissett, who I went to college with, was his... were they married or were they boyfriend and girlfriend? I think they did get married. Yeah. Anyway, God bless. This is from Rick Schwartz. A few weeks ago, before my fucking dry January. Well, if you're calling it fucking dry January, Rick Schwartz, just don't do it. Just keep drinking. If you resent it that much, you should be like kind of celebrating a month of sobriety, of fresh mornings where maybe you'll get something accomplished, and days where you don't regret things you said the night before. Embrace your dry January. So he's walking back from a bar at Coolidge Corner, which is where I used to live in Boston. Around midnight, group of BU students walking across the street. One of them says, so she caught me jerking off into a dumpster again. She caught me jerking off into a dumpster. Best part of the story is, again. Like, what is it, the smell? Do you get turned on by the sitting fucking putrid water in the bottom? Why do I say fucking so much today? Maybe he's just cutting out the middleman. He figures he's going to come on a napkin and then throw it in the trash can, then it goes in the dumpster. Maybe he's an environmentalist. Straight into the dumpster. It's like jerk off right into the ocean, not into the toilet. Cut out the middleman. Get to the source. Adam Bean, friend of the show, said several older people of various nationalities sitting at a restaurant table. Happy birthday balloons bob overhead as the tremor-afflicted Sally apparently is 88 years old today. And a woman says, my Korean age is -1. Which I think Adam heard this wrong because I remember somebody, I think it was Bobby Lee told me this, who's Korean, is that you actually add an age when you're Korean, add a year, because they include the year that you spent in utero as a year that you're alive. So you would be 1 year older in your Korean age, not 1 year younger. I think they should start. If I was a pro-life person, that's what I would do. I would start counting that year, because they're already doing it. There was a law that just went through where you can use the HOV lane on the highway. You know, the multiple occupancy lane. If you're pregnant, yeah. And if you kill a woman and she's got a baby in her, you get charged with double homicide in Texas. So, all right, if that woman comes to the movie theater, charge her double. Flights, that's an extra passenger you got there. Cough up another $4.50, sweetheart. You wanted to spread your legs. Pay now. Peter Malaspina said, we'll save this one. We'll save this one for next week. Okay, listen. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. If you want to be at your best, if you want to be at your full potential, what you need to do is you need to talk to a therapist. I talked about it at the top of this show. I was not emotionally here for the beginning of the show, and I feel pretty good about this intro, but I got there through some advice I got from my therapist. She said, when you're not feeling it, because I was talking about getting ready for my 1 hour special, she said, you got to fantasize. You have to see yourself accomplishing that thing, seeing yourself overcome obstacles, figure out what obstacles you might hit, and now fantasize meeting them, dealing with them, overcoming them. And then when it happens, you will be in a mental space to do that exactly. You have to envision things, and you will feel empowered and prepared to handle anything life throws at you. My therapist that I've been working with from BetterHelp for years now, since before the pandemic, is fantastic and teaches me things that seem obvious, but they're not. You need to hear them from another person. And I like doing it through the computer. I like that I don't have to commute a half hour each way, find parking, get all stressed out, waste a whole day. I do it in the comfort of my own office. And it's fantastic. So if you're thinking about giving therapy a try, BetterHelp is a great option because, again, it's flexible. It's a lot cheaper than in-person therapy. It's all online. They give you a questionnaire and you fill it out, and they take the issues that you're listing, that you're grappling with, and they put you with somebody who specializes in those areas. So you're a good match. And if it's not a match, you can switch right away. It's that easy. So no extra charge. If you want to live a more empowered life, therapy can get you there. Visit betterhelp.com/Fitzdog today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, betterhelp.com/Fitzdog. Okay, my guest today, oh God, this was a long intro. See that? I was afraid to do it. Now I've done 25 minutes. My guest is a marijuana rights advocate since before anybody was advocating for marijuana. He's been a champion of it. He's got podcasts like Doug Loves Movies, The Benson Interruption, Getting Doug with High. He's got 10 comedy albums out. He and I used to do Best Week Ever together. We used to do At Midnight together. He was on Last Comic Standing. He's done a million things. He's fantastic. He's an icon. And so I hope you enjoy the great talk we had last week at the Comedy Store. Here is Doug Benson.
do you get stuff out of people a lot that they wish they hadn't said? You get a lot of phone calls later. Can you take that out?
Welcome to the podcast. Doug Benson's just hit me with a hard question.
There's no reason to wade into this.
I always leave that door open, and occasionally somebody will ask, and I'll usually have a conversation with them about it. Bob Saget was famous for that. Bob Saget was so meticulous about his image. If he said one thing that might be taken as slanders to somebody, he would call, and then he'd call back to make sure you did it, and then he'd email you. If you took a selfie with Bob Saget, you had to find the right lighting, and you had to get the right angle, and then he'd put it through a filter. And I mean, that guy, like, he really crafted his... And it's funny because, like, what do you think of when you think of Bob Saget?
Oh, well, you know, the Family Guy turns out to be super dirty.
Right.
Like that was his whole brand.
Yeah.
Dirty, but always never trying to cross those lines of like, because that's the weird thing of coming from that TV show, Full House. Those kids were like his kids.
Yeah.
So he could not be... You know, he'd still make sexual jokes about them, but then immediate back on. Immediate apology if he did about the Olsen twins or whatever.
Yeah.
Because they're like his family for reals. But he is also a dirty comic. That's such a weird line. Because like one of the girls that played his daughters is super religious. So I wonder where they were, how they managed to make their... make it work for the two of them.
I mean, especially since...
Because he can't help himself. He always just says horrible shit.
Yeah. And I think on the set, they were also feeding off each other because it was three, like, bros.
Oh, right.
You know, it was Stamos, and then what's the other guy's name?
Coulier.
Yeah, Dave Coulier. And I think the three of them were like three old frat guys, and they were just having fun. And somehow they were able to, temper it enough to be around these kids.
Yeah, and then Bob was like a host of America's Funniest Home Videos for years.
Yeah,
just doing squeaky clean comedy on there. Right. But it didn't matter what he was doing comedy about. It was that he was just such a fast talker.
Yep.
Like a modern Harold Hill,
Harold Hill, good pull. I remember before he was famous watching, because when we were kids, we watched Evening at the Improv. We watched all those Comic Strip Live, Comedy on the Road, VH1 Comedy Spotlight, and we watched them all, and Saget was on everything. And I remember one of his jokes was, I live on a moped. And I just thought that was so funny. He would spew out a million like quick, silly little ideas, but he was dark and edgy back then. And I was actually surprised when I saw him do such clean shows later.
And very conscious of segues, like moving from one thing to the next. Right. There's always connective tissue. He would never like just start a fresh topic.
Right. And he dressed
out of nowhere.
He had like slacks with pleats in them, and he dressed sharply pressed shirts. I mean, he cared. He really gave a shit.
Oh yeah, no, he felt guilty. The earlier in his set that he had to take out the guitar, the worse he felt about how it went.
Yeah,
because he felt that was how he could save his set is by bringing out the guitar.
Well,
or closing strong with it.
I felt really bad because when I first moved out to LA. I was a little on the cocky side. I was a little brash. And so I came in and I didn't know Saget that well, but I knew that I was working at the Laugh Factory a lot, and he was always going on, and he was going long all the time.
Oh no.
And you're trying to get to your other set.
Sure, yeah. It sucks when that happens.
So he would always close his set he'd call for his guitar, and then they'd bring it up on stage. And so he was already 10 minutes over.
Right.
And I knew he was going to call for the guitar, so I just cranked all the tuning pegs, and I put it completely out of tune. And so nobody saw me do it. And they brought the guitar up on stage, and they gave it to him, and he set up a G chord, and he strummed it, and it just was like, wah, 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 and he was like, what the fuck? And so he just went, good night, everybody.
Oh, no. Oh, my God.
And I told him that about 6 months before he died. And he was mortified. I thought we'd laugh about it.
Right.
He was so mortified that he had been going late. They'd been going long.
Right.
And impositioning people because he didn't remember that he'd ever done that.
I think a lot of comedians don't think in those terms.
Yeah.
You know, they're just like, I'm killing.
Right.
You know, I get the signal a minute ago. I still got another couple minutes. You know, there's always like this kind of game they're playing in their heads. It's like always with other comedians, if I'm meeting them somewhere and they're running late, they're going to lie about how far they are in the process.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's what you just did to me. You were a little bit late, and you said, "I'm passing by the Laugh Factory," and then
at the time, it was like a block ahead of me when I wrote that. But I also know that I'm a slow typist, so that I might have passed it by the time I got by.
And then you went in Long Beach.
Yeah, because it's, you know, I realized immediately that they have several locations now. The Laugh Factory, they're springing up all over the place.
Have you worked the other ones on the road?
I haven't done any of them, but I think there's like 8 of them now.
I know. I got to call up Jamie because I'm going to start working. I heard the one in Vegas is actually really good.
Which, is it in a hotel?
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Where else would it be?
But which one? We don't know which one.
I don't know, but I hear the actual room is a good comedy room. So, I mean,
a lot of the Vegas ones just are, because you know they're just a box in a hotel. You know, they're not building, when they build a new comedy club at the mall. It's stadium seating, and, you know, tables and food service and all that. And you know, there's Vegas. It's like, there's tables sometimes,
right,
but it's just a square room.
My favorite Vegas week was I went out there with Keith Robinson
from
New York, who's off stage, maybe one of the funniest guys you ever met, just a constant ball buster. And I go out there, and I was headlining, he was the feature, and the MC was Jimmy Fallon.
Whoa.
And so we go up, and he's just the sweetest, like, you know, well scrubbed, chipper, fun guy, but like could not riff with us. Like, he would try to jump in on a fun, like we'd each tell a funny story, and then he'd tell one, and we would start shitting on him. We called him Kid Vegas. And like, it was like a 6-night show, and like fell in love with the guy, but I think he was intimidated. And so he just wasn't being funny. And so like 6 months later, I call up Keith, and I'm like, you hear about Kid Vegas? He's like, SNL. I was like, yep. I don't think he's opening for us anymore.
No, he really had a big quick jump there.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't have to tour much as a comic or anything.
No.
Or them finding him, which is, that's sort of, you know, it's really been SNL's thing, is to find people when they're young.
Right.
You know, because they're more likely to get hot with the young audience.
Right.
And also just become, like, just Lorne Michaels is just, he can be cocky because he's just produced most of the movie and TV comedy stars have come through there.
Right.
Like, you know, like Laugh-In or something before that.
Right,
you know?
Right, yeah.
Or even Johnny Carson.
Shows, yeah, right.
Back when an appearance on a show, you know, could change everything. Now it's like a YouTube YouTube video gets a lot of hits is what changes things.
Right. But I remember Tina Fey was talking about when Jimmy came in and they auditioned him. And, you know, his act was an audition for SNL because they're looking for someone who can do characters, who can do
he
music.
had a troll doll.
He had a troll doll.
And he would do different people like Adam Sandler singing about the troll doll.
Right. Pearl Jam.
Oh, you little troll doll.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing.
So he basically...
And it was cute, but it was also like, this guy's been doing comedy for 10 seconds.
Yeah, right. So he brings the troll doll up to 38 Rock or whatever it is, 48 Rock. What is it?
30.
It's 38?
Yeah, but inflation.
They had to move. They're tenting the 38. And so he just put the fucking thing on the stool, and he sang Springsteen, and he sang Pearl Jam, and Tina Fey said to Lauren, "This is the closest I've ever seen to somebody being ready to go on the show this Saturday." She's like, "This guy is exactly what this show needs." And he just came out of the gate. I think he did that. He did his guitar thing on Weekend Update the first week, and it was over. He was just on the
I mean, he was like co-anchor of Weekend Update like within like 6 months or something, maybe.
Yeah.
And all was like...
And you know what? Guy fucking stayed humble. He stayed sweet. I mean, I don't know if you know him at all.
Likes to party, apparently.
I think he likes to party.
has occasionally has a broken hand or wrist or something that's they don't spend a lot of time saying exactly what happened.
I don't want you telling me that you have a drinking problem if you didn't break anything. There's too many lightweights in AA meetings talking about how they were late to work.
He's very competitive too, though. He brings people on the show, and then he has games where he competes with them.
Yes.
And he also, when he produced a new version of Password, he made himself, there's 2 celebrity guests on each episode. He made himself one of the celebrity guests in every episode.
No kidding.
So every week would be him competing against, John Hamm or, Chelsea Handler or somebody. But it was always, he was one of the celebrities, and Keke Palmer was the host.
Keke Palmer, who's that?
She's very popular. People will roast you for not knowing who Keke Palmer is. She's currently in, did you see Nope?
Nope.
What about Yup?
Saw Yup.
Saw the shit out of Yup.
Did you see Can't Remember It?
Who? But that's... since we are on the topic of movies, have you been to any of these really long ones? Have you managed to see any of these crazy long movies?
Was the Banshee of Inisherin, was that long?
It wasn't too bad. It was 2:15 maybe.
Okay.
So that one wasn't too bad lengthwise.
I saw the last movies
It had a leisurely pace, though, that's for sure.
The last movies I've seen was that. I haven't gone out to a lot of movies. I saw the Tom Cruise Maverick movie. That was probably over 2 hours, right?
Little bit, maybe 2:10. Long credit sequence, because boy, they have to do a lot of effects.
Yeah.
For all that aerial stuff.
But that's what was incredible. I didn't realize until after I saw it that none of that was CGI'd.
Right.
That's crazy.
But just the sheer amount of work that goes into.
And the danger,
making it look like they're just having a dogfight.
Right. 2 planes going upside down next to each other 5 feet away.
Yeah. No, Tom Cruise, I think he'd die happy if he died, making a movie.
Right.
A stunt in a movie. Not I always confuse how Houdini really died and how they depicted it in the Houdini movie. But either way, it was just kind of an embarrassing way for Houdini to die. You know what I mean? He's not really he's not really failing at a stunt or something. He had it was something wrong with his kidneys. He got hit in the stomach.
Yeah.
That was one of his things is he'd tense up and lets people punch him.
Yeah.
I guess a guy punched him, and then he did another stunt and, had some sort of medical issue during doing the other thing is I think what really happened. But in the Tony Curtis movie, he's just backstage and there's this weird sword sticking out of some sort of sword container. And he's moving quickly to get past it, and it jabs him in the side.
That's not what happened.
And then
what?
Yeah, he's like, ow. And then he
that's crazy.
And then he tries to do a water tank escape and dies.
Yeah.
He gets
oh my God. You can't do that on a biopic.
Well, but that's the thing about biopics. We were talking about Elvis before this started. And regardless of what you feel about Elvis as an entertainment, there's no reason for young Colonel Parker to look like how Tom Hanks looks. When he and Elvis
or talk like him.
When they first meet, he's not one of those big guys yet.
Yeah.
And he's, it was just so the director and Tom Hanks just getting together and going, let's fucking Jiminy Glick the shit out of this.
Yeah.
Let's just have a ball.
Yeah.
Let's make him this evil character in Elvis's life. It really just feels like everything that went wrong with Elvis is, Colonel Parker's fault in that movie. He's such a villain.
Well,
he's always telling him what to do all the time,
I just read 2 different books on Elvis, and the drugs, Colonel Tom had nothing to do with the drugs.
Right.
The Army did. When he went overseas, they used to do these field exercises that would go on for 2 or 3 days, and they would give people amphetamines. And he got hooked on amphetamines while he was over in Germany.
Right.
Came back with a giant fucking bag of amphetamines, and that was it. And from then on, he was a pillhead.
Every doctor's going to give Elvis the prescription he wants.
But Colonel Tom is more responsible for taking a guy who could have been a James Dean or a Marlon Brando in terms of the films that he got and putting him instead into bubblegum pop crap that was not respected by anybody. I mean, he did a couple serious movies, and he was okay in them, but he was going to grow, obviously.
Sure.
But Colonel Tom really kept him creatively from becoming better.
He does have a pretty awful filmography. Like there's no Elvis movies, and I'm always like, let's put that on. I just watched the music numbers and stuff, or like it's kind of fun to watch the one where Mary Tyler Moore is a nun.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's one of the more dramatic ones.
Oh, that's amazing. He doesn't have sex with the nun.
No, but I think they flirt a little.
Yeah.
I think maybe it's one of those ones where he screws the nun.
Yeah.
A Change of Habits, what it's called.
No, it's not.
Yes. Yeah.
Colonel Tom, he'd put him into a bad movie, and then he would make these like 7 record deals with RCA, but Elvis had no time to go into the studio because he was doing 4 movies a year. So what he did was he would release each movie's soundtrack as an album for RCA.
Yeah.
And they were thrown together like the day of. They were like he never wrote. Elvis never wrote anything, but he'd go through. He had an amazing ear for music. Like he was very eclectic, bluegrass and country and soul and gospel, and he would pull all kinds of different music. He had a great taste, but they barely rehearse it, and then they'd put it in the movie and release it. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's so you like the Elvis movie?
I loved it. I thought it was fun. It didn't stick to the facts, but it was to me like an impressionist painting.
Yeah. Yeah, I have such a weird relationship with Baz Luhrmann movies because there's a few of them I really like, and then others it just gets on my nerves.
Right.
It's just I think a lot of it has to do with, in the case of Elvis, I truly am not that interested in. I've heard enough about Elvis my whole life, you know, and I never became a true fan.
Right.
Back in the day, I think even Tarantino brings it up. Elvis or the Beatles, and it's just like there was never a second where I would consider Elvis over the Beatles.
Yeah.
The Beatles were my whole musical upbringing. Like, the first album I owned was the Beatles, Yeah.
Which one?
What's it called? It's the one that's got Maxwell Silverhammer on it, because that was
Revolver?
my favorite song. No, I think it's Abbey Road.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Abbey Road.
Sgt. Pepper's was my first CD.
Yeah.
Yeah. Top 5 rock biopics of all time.
Oh, goodness. Well, that's the other thing. Like, is it Rock and Roll Hall of Fame idea of rock? Because then I'd say like Ray Charles, but
no, any
does
kind
he
of
really
music.
count as rock?
Yeah, I would say any music.
Well, they really nailed the Ray Charles one. The Jamie Foxx really
won the Oscar for that, right?
Yeah, he really nailed that.
Yeah.
It's funny, the year that Jamie Foxx won the Oscar, he won the Golden Globe, I think, and then a couple other things along the way, like Critics' Choice or whatever.
Yeah.
And his speeches were so good.
Yes.
And they were hitting while the Academy people are voting.
Right.
And it's just something about, we want to hear this guy again. We don't want to hear somebody boring. And so, like, it just really felt like, obviously, he also did a great job in that movie, but it felt like insane momentum was created by his speeches being so good, because they'd be humble, funny, he hit touching,
all the right
like
chords.
Smart, he just hit everything.
And he'd sing prepared, a little.
Say it all right.
Yeah.
So then,
it's like, what's her name from White Lotus winning, and she's going to continue to win because we want to see her.
It's always great to watch Jennifer Coolidge win. And now they're going to have her be a presenter whenever she's not nominated, because she's just, her coming out on a hot mic is going to be entertaining every single time. But now this year, Critics' Choice Awards, like the final night of Academy voting on who's going to be nominated for the Oscars, last chance to get a word in about how great they are and why they deserve it.
Yeah.
And several people couldn't go because they had COVID from yapping it up face to face with other actors at the Golden Globes.
Right.
They got Golden Globes COVID.
No
so then they had to miss the next award show. So the playing field gets leveled again. Nobody's getting to make, because Colin Farrell's speech was really good at the Golden Globes, but he didn't get to make a speech at the Critics' Choice.
Because he got the golden COVID. Wow.
Yeah, because that show is so social. That's why, like, Gerard Carmichael, when he was hosting, was constantly telling them to be quiet.
Yeah.
It just becomes this big...
Well, because they serve them booze and people don't realize they had to get there.
And you can go over and talk to Spielberg.
Right.
You're in a room where you can walk over to Steven Spielberg and go, man, I love the Fabelmans, dude.
Yep. And you were told you had to be there at 4:00 and now it's 8.
Right. And dinner is at the very beginning. So everyone who takes a long time on the red carpet or gets there late, they miss the dinner part and they go right to alcohol. So that's why Mike White was just shit-faced by the time he got up there, which turned out to be great in his case. Yeah. He was very, very entertaining drunk person, very emotional. He was crying. Yeah. Great.
All right. So Ray.
Okay. Gosh.
And here's
I'm sure there's some really good ones. Oh, you have the answers already?
I have some ideas.
Yeah.
But here's a hint. You can include classical music.
Oh. How about a classical music story that's apparently a lot of it's bullshit?
Which one is
Amadeus.
Oh, is it?
Apparently that whole Salieri thing is just made up. Like the jealousy and him really writing the song at the end.
Yeah, it seemed a little too perfect.
But I love that movie. But okay, so who else?
Well, you also had...
would qualify as classical. Are you talking about the dog movies? Beethoven? Beethoven's 1 through 5? Beethoven's 5th?
No, there was also what was the Beethoven movie? There was...
there's a famous Beethoven biopic?
Yeah.
Who was in that?
Was it Gary Oldman? Gary Oldman
maybe
played Beethoven in...
That sounds about right.
Immortal Beloved was the Mozart one, right?
Maybe.
No. Immortal Beloved was
this isn't one of my
Beethoven
top genres.
Okay. See that.
I barely know that the Vincent van Gogh movie with Willem Dafoe in it is called At Heaven's Gate. I barely know that. I had to struggle with it for a second.
I'm not going to know that next week, but I know it now.
Right?
All right,
movie. So boring. Okay, so Rockstar... Because the trouble is I keep flashing on ones that are like, oh, God, such a good effort. Like Val Kilmer could not have been a more perfect Jim Morrison. And then the movie is dumb.
The movie's dumb, but it's also Meg Ryan is fucking adorable in the movie.
It really takes advantage of how cute she was at the time.
And it's also shot in Venice with all the flowers and the walk streets and the... I thought it's one of those movies that says, come for the ride. Like the Elton John movie. Come for the ride. Leave your judgment at the door.
I'll tell you, Oliver Stone figured out that...
He did the Doors movie.
Yeah. And, JFK, Wall Street.
Sure.
Wall Street 2, Money Never Sleeps. Mm-hmm. And... Money Never Sleeps at Heaven's Gate. He was smart enough to pick one of the best cinematographers in the game. I think the man's name is Robert Richardson.
Okay.
And moves the camera a lot, beautiful framing, amazing images. Because Oliver Stone wasn't going to get there without that guy.
Right.
So that Doors movie looks better than it deserves to look.
Okay. Fair enough.
Because it just ends up dwelling on things that are just like kind of prurient. And even though he was... obviously more interesting than the bullet points that you read at the grocery store checkout, like, okay, yeah, he took out his dick at a concert, but I think a lot of people were into it.
Yeah. Right.
He really had this really like indecency thing slapped on him. And it's just like, well, does anybody heard of any other rock musician that's always kept their clothes on all the time?
Yeah, right.
They all pull some nonsense.
Well, it's also like, the fact that people argue about, I don't know if they argue, but they discuss whether his poetry had any merit. But, it was symbolic at the time. It was very like a Zeppelin song. I mean, there was a lot of like goblins and sorcerers and stuff.
from the second any of their songs were a hit, stand-up comedians had material about those lyrics.
Yes.
Like every Jim Morrison lyric has some silly stuff in it.
Yeah.
The Killers kind of remind me of Jim Morrison. Like,
interesting.
Like great songs, great singing. But then when I really think about the words, I just get like,
yeah,
you know, I've got soul, but I'm not a soldier. Over and over again.
Ooh.
Like, don't even try to come up with anything that sounds similar.
Yeah.
So you can change it up at some point. Get the whole audience. I'm not a soul, but maybe I'll sing that. So here's my predicament, and we'll still stay on the biopics. But my predicament for the current times that I wanted to ask you about, I even wrote it down on a little piece of paper.
Oh, nice.
Is I have to do. Have you ever done Josh Adam Meyer's goddamn comedy jam?
I think so.
Where you have to sing a song.
Oh, I signed up to do it.
He's got a full band.
And then I fucking chickened out the night before. Yeah, I chickened out.
What were you going to sing?
I was going to play guitar.
You even know how to play guitar and you chickened out?
Yeah, I was going to play Purple Haze on guitar.
Oh, but you can't do it very well?
I thought I could do it well until I really tried to play the entire song. Because I can play each chunk on its own, but I can't string it all together.
Right. Wouldn't the crowd just be into it if you just were hitting parts of it that sounded right?
I pushed out, and I think I need to take another crack. Why? What's your situation?
My situation is, it's what I go through. If anytime I'm at karaoke, I end up not singing because I cannot pick a song.
Yeah.
Because I just like.
How's your voice?
It's not good.
Yeah.
I'm not a singer.
Yeah.
I can, fake it up a storm in small amounts, but it's when you sing a song from beginning to end that you always find out, oh, there's a lot more words in this than I thought. Yes. Oh, I didn't know any of these words in this verse. Uh-huh. This song you have to say the words quicker than I thought. Like you think you know all the words to like some rap song, and it's like it goes faster than you think it does.
Oh, just look at a very simple slow song is that the national anthem, and how is there a video I enjoy more than somebody fucking butchering the national anthem? It's the greatest when they start mixing the verses together. It's
any mistake is kind of it's weird that the people that are upset if the flag gets burned or touches the ground stand idly by when that happens. I mean, they got really mad when Roseanne intentionally
she spit and grabbed her,
butchered it, and then grabbed her crotch and spit. Like I remember all of that happening as much from how much it was spoken about than actually witnessing it.
Right.
I think it was in San Diego, though. I think it was at a Padres game.
I think so.
Yeah.
Right.
That also stuck out to me because I'm from San Diego.
Mm-hmm. And that's
as a child, I could have been there. That could have happened to me.
Yeah.
But
and a very Republican area.
It didn't. Yeah. Isn't that weird that I never felt that people were conservative at all growing up in San Diego until I got out of there.
But conservative was different back then.
It was.
I mean, it wasn't something that you wore on your sleeve. It was something that you acted on in the voting booth.
Yeah, and they came up with that phrase, socially conservative, because that way it can, just kind of be like, hey, I'm just out on things that are, modern.
Right.
Well, they're probably also going to a key party.
All right, so we got the Doors movie is in or out?
It's out.
Wow.
Top 5?
Wow. All right, here's one.
But the trouble is, it's always a good performance by the lead actor that they hire to do the impression.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the movie sucks. Like, all the biopics, the main character gets nominated for an Oscar, and then it doesn't get nominated for a picture, or writing, or anything else. Right. You know what I mean? Like when Judy Garland, when Renee Zellweger won for that movie. Yeah. The movie's not good, but she's amazing.
Right.
And that's how biopics tend to go.
Yeah. All right, here's one.
What have you got? Give me a good one.
Here's one. Sid and Nancy.
Yes, absolutely.
Who directed that?
Stephen Frears.
Yeah.
I just saw his new movie. It's called The Lost King. And it's about how fucking Richard III is like they could possibly find his body, locate and find his body, and prove that he wasn't a hunchback.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And also, more importantly to the lady in the movie, she wants to prove that he didn't murder people, the story is he murdered someone to take over to become king.
The story according to Shakespeare.
Yes.
Yeah.
The story according to Shakespeare is he murdered somebody to become king, one of his brothers, but he has like 7 brothers.
Yeah.
So you don't murder one guy. You can't just murder one of them and think, okay, I'll just keep it this until I get to king. The plot doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
So this one lady in England figured that out and figured out where he could potentially be buried. And the movie is about, it's called The Lost King because it's about this woman that had a lot of tenacity. She's played by Sally Hawkins in the movie. Uh-huh. But she just really sticks to her guns and keeps trying to find, even though historians keep saying, but this and that, and they'll have all these explanations for why you can't find him, why you shouldn't even bother to look.
Right.
Because they're all a bunch of stodgy old British guys telling her, you can't do this.
They don't want, Laurence Olivier to be proven wrong with that Hunchback on the what were those movies? Who used to produce those movies? Was it the BBC?
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
He did all the great Shakespeare plays.
A lot of it in black and white. Just make it as boring as possible.
Yes, we used to have to watch them in school.
Oh, the worst.
Oh, brutal.
The worst, because you don't have the curiosity to figure out what they're saying.
Yeah.
So it's just endless droning, where you can't just decide to pick up the plot in random spots.
Yeah.
Like most kind of movies they'd show you in school or whatever.
Right.
Okay, biopics.
Buddy Holly.
That's a very good one. That's a very different Gary Busey than we've come to know and love.
Yeah. Like
a very different guy when he was younger, and seemed like that wouldn't be his first, just his only Oscar nomination.
Right.
But, he just got too kooky.
Respect.
Huh?
The Aretha Franklin biopic.
Thought you were asking me about Gary Busey, but bottom line, respect? Yes, respect. Because of how dumb his character is in Point Break.
Yeah.
The way he's just like, give me a sandwich. He's just ad-libbing stuff that's not funny. It's so much energy. Okay, so I got to think of a song to sing on this thing.
Yeah.
And because I think you also have to know all the words, because I don't think it's like karaoke. I don't think they have the words for you.
Velvet Underground is good because the octave is nice and low and comfortable for a speaking voice. Lou Reed talk sung a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
And the lyrics are very poetic and slow.
It's not that one. Do that one.
Except then you have to say Colored Girls.
That's what I stopped myself from saying it just here.
Yeah.
In a safe space.
Yeah. Well, then definitely don't sing Oliver's Army.
I mean, everybody. I'm not gonna. There's a lot of songs I'm gonna steer clear of because of the language.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole premise to me is like, I love watching other comedians do it, but I'm just not the guy to get up there and like make karaoke funny. I could try to make it funny, but I feel like I'd fail. And if I do it, if I take it seriously, that's probably not that much fun. Songs are too long, is my argument. Like when you watch The Voice or American Idol or something, they do 90 seconds of singing. And it feels like a 3 or 4 minute song by the time it's over.
Well,
but when you really sing a 3 or 4 minute song, that feels like forever.
Yeah. And there's also musical interludes. And then what do? You're going to snap your fingers and stand around?
Yeah. But I guess they got a fun band to back you up.
I got one for you. If you want to go parody, if you want to go like silly, White Rabbit by Jefferson Airplane is about 2 minutes and 10 seconds.
One pill makes that one?
Yeah, but it builds.
I got to figure out the words.
So you're screaming at the end.
I only knew the one pill makes you small.
One pill makes you
tall.
And one pill makes you small.
and feel nothing.
And the pills that mother gives you don't do anything
at all. Yeah, really, you just be ending up doing a impersonation of the way that song is delivered.
Grace Slick.
Because she had such the phrasing.
Yeah.
But I'll never, Grace Slick, just everything fell apart for me when she built that city.
Oh,
That was one of the worst pop songs ever.
Oh my God, that wasn't even Jefferson.
It was Jefferson's Starship.
Starship.
Yeah, because they were fucking
They didn't do anything
space
good.
nuts.
That was like when Sammy Hagar took over Van Halen. It's like, what happened here?
Oh, and then they just kept handing it off to different people and stuff. But I really enjoyed this that David Bowie tribute. Well, it wasn't a David Bowie tribute concert, was it? Was it? No, they did some David Bowie at it. But anyway, that last big concert from the Wembley, that was for something. What was it for? Oh, it was for the drummer from Nirvana.
Oh, yeah.
It was for him.
Taylor Hawkins?
Yeah, it was his memorial. Had just the most amazing lineup of people and drummers, and but Wolfgang Van Halen came out and played on some songs.
Oh.
He's got. It's just so wild to me that his dad could be so uniquely gifted, and then he managed to pick it up and can do it. It seems like he's doing it as well.
Yeah, well, look at Starkey, Ringo Starr's son.
Yeah, he does it too. He's a drummer.
Plays for the Who. He's the Who's.
Oh, he's the guy that fills in for.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Because they haven't had a drummer for a long time.
No, John Bonham died, 22 years ago?
Yeah, and Keith Moon way before him.
Yeah.
Right?
And also, somebody else's son is really good.
Oh, yeah. No, Dave Grohl's kid.
Right.
Came out and tore it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was really...
I'm friends with the bass player that was at that concert, Chris Chaney. He was the Jane's Addiction bass player.
Right on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he played with Taylor Hawkins a lot. They had some kind of super band they used to tour with.
Oh, that's why I thought it was a Bowie thing at first, is because the dude from Queens of the Stone Age, Josh Homme, he sang China Girl and fucking just did an imitation of Bowie. Like, he can really sing, and then he just did his Bowie, kind of just did Bowie's voice, and it was like spot on. It was so good.
Wow.
Yeah. But the Moon Age Daydream's a great David Bowie movie, but that doesn't count as a biopic because it's not really, right? It's not just a documentary. It's just the only voice you hear. It's all just him singing and speaking in a glorious, 2 hours montage.
Really?
Of just, it's a really good, drug movie. It's good to get fucked up and watch it.
All right.
Yeah.
Sometimes my wife and kids are out and I have the house to myself and I just smoke a fatty and I'll put something on.
That'd be perfect.
Yeah.
Maybe even, put on headphones or something so you can crank it.
Yeah. Put on the Doors movie after that. All right. So the Doors movie's out. Which ones are in? I can't keep track of them.
For Bowie, I'm going to have to say my favorite biopic was Labyrinth. That seemed the most like how he is in real life.
Right.
All right. Who else has a biopic that's in rock and roll? Like they're making a Amy Winehouse now. Finally.
Oh, are they?
Finally, yeah.
Oh, that'd be good. They should do a Sinead O'Connor also.
They should.
Yeah.
God,
she got so maligned. She came out and made a statement about the fact that there is an institution in this world that condones and propagates child molestation.
Yes.
And that the CEO of that company he ripped up a picture of him.
Yeah.
And her career ended.
Yeah.
And she had death threats for a decade.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a pretty simple, quick statement, but it was just like everybody treated it like everybody's options were to be mad at her or confused by it. Like there was nobody that's just like, okay, great.
Right.
That was a good statement you made there.
Right.
Like that didn't seem to be in the air at all.
No.
Everyone was like, what a lunatic.
Yeah.
Oh, she's bald and then she does that?
Well, that's the thing is the thing about the way men think, when a woman shaves her head, it's like she's giving them, in their mind, that she's giving them the finger. So they already don't like her. Right. She happens to be...
She dares to not look how I want her to look.
Exactly. Right. And she happens to be, that album, I Do Not Want What I Do Not Have, is...
It's so good.
Masterpiece.
It's so good. I was obsessed with it. Would listen to it on repeat. And that Prince song...
Nothing
Compares to You is just like one of the most that if there was a cult that was just built around that song, I could have been sucked into it.
Right, absolutely.
It was mesmerizing. Like the video was just her singing straight to camera.
Yeah. But the whole album, I mean, the percussion is really interesting. I don't know who produced it, but it's extremely well produced. There's like a little reggae jam on there. There's the jazz. It's incredible album.
It's a really good album.
Yeah. What are the other big ones? Well, wasn't there a Biggie Smalls biopic?
There was. It was called Gigantic? No. Something like that, though.
Do you know?
I do not.
All right.
Yeah.
Do you know a lot about music? Yeah.
Kinda.
But, it was good, I guess. It was all right. Oh, well, I guess NWA movie?
Yeah, Straight Outta Compton.
Yeah. I like that very much.
That was great.
Very well done.
You know, it wasn't a biopic, but I loved was the one with the song, It's Hard for a Pimp.
Right. Hustle and Flow.
Yes. That wasn't a biopic, but that was an amazing movie.
No, that was good. That was good. I enjoyed that. I just thought of another one after NWA.
Well, what'd you think of the Elton John movie?
That's the one I thought of. Rocket Man.
Yeah, people are very mixed on that.
Well, I'll tell you, Bohemian Rhapsody comes out.
Oh, there you go.
And it's, a troubled production because the director had to leave partway through or whatever. And then on top of that, what's his name does a great job impersonating Freddie Mercury, like with the jaw and everything. But now when I see
Rami
him
Malek?
Yeah, now when I see him in anything else, now he's Freddie Mercury to me.
I know.
Whereas in Rocket Man, Taron Egerton delivers yet a different character than he has done before, and I just liked how they reimagined the music instead of just having concert scenes.
I think it's a lot like the Elvis movie. It's like, okay, what are the colors that come at you when you listen to this person's music? Put that on the screen. What's the flow? What's the magic? Put that on. It's not supposed to be.
Bohemian Rhapsody is just him arguing with the other guys, and we know he's right.
Yeah.
Like trying to convince people Bohemian Rhapsody is good.
Right.
Well, of course it's good.
Yeah.
We already know that.
Yeah.
So it's just those scenes are always so silly. I always hate those scenes in movies where like somebody's putting their foot down about something that's going to be a masterpiece.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, yeah, I'm sure people said no, but also like, now we're just sitting there thinking this guy's a tremendous dick.
Right.
Because he makes one bad call.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the trouble with all of entertainment where, when you're trying to get your project made is the people that can say yes to it, their jobs are in more jeopardy than yours most of the time.
Yeah.
Or in fact, they're worried about losing a job. You're just trying to get one.
Right. I know. And they're playing defense.
Yeah.
You're playing offense. And, Mike White, in his acceptance speech, said everybody in this room passed on this. People love that.
So
shit.
good.
Yeah.
I feel like HBO must have been one of his first stops. I don't think he really had too much rejection, but you never know.
The story I heard was the head of HBO saw that the pandemic was happening, production was stopped, and he reached out to Mike White and he said, look, you write fast, you produce fast, I need something in 3 months. And Mike White took the baton and he said, here you go. That's the story I heard. Did you hear that?
And well, the show is clearly like, let's all just go to this island and be in a production bubble making this thing. We can, the hotel, they can clear out the hotel.
And apparently it was a writer's first draft. It was not rewritten. That was the script. He wrote it. They shot it.
And then, massage it on set probably with the actors and stuff. But such a like that when they said season 2, I was like, how could he do that again? And then in some ways, I like season 2 even better.
Really?
In some ways.
Okay.
Not in all ways, because the first one, you're never going to top just the kind of surprise of what kind of show it ended up being. Yeah. The first time around. Like the second time around, when you have an uptight lady running the hotel instead of a crazy coked out man, you're not spending the whole season worried that she's gonna do something horrible to herself or others.
Right.
Whereas the first season, they just had a certifiable maniac, running around.
Well, for a gay guy, he picks sexy female leads.
Yeah.
I like his taste in actresses because they're sexy, but they're also talented.
I feel like a lot of his creative decisions are filtered through, I think Laura Dern is his best friend.
Oh, no kidding.
Is my theory.
Wow.
Yeah. Michael Imperioli, when he calls his wife in season 2, that's Laura Dern's voice. In that part. But that's the other thing is everybody's so you haven't seen season 2?
I did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
so
I liked it very much.
But so it's fair to talk about how it ends, right? I mean, I know Jennifer Coolidge got in trouble for mentioning that she dies, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
Like she should be able to bring it up.
Yeah.
But so she dies, but it's so funny that your first thought is, well, okay, she's just not going to be in the next one. It would have been fun to see her in another location dealing with other stuff. But what stops him from making it take place before the others?
Exactly.
And even maybe they could tie back the plot of the guy that she married. They could, tie him to her back even further.
I think it actually makes more sense than doing, if they do another one, now you're in a rhythm. It's like, okay, now you're going to do another one. You're going to have another difficult manage. It's template. But if you go back and go deeper into what we already know and love, I think that's great. I think that's a good idea. Would you write it?
Huh?
You got 3 months.
Yeah.
Pandemic coming.
No, that's the other thing about both the first one and the second season is just an alarming knowledge of the guy is a traveler and a information sponge. Like because there's so much you learn about the places that they're at in those shows.
Right.
Maybe I had just seen that Godfather series on the making of the Godfather, The Offer. I liked it too. Well, especially the guy who played Robert Evans.
Yeah.
Robert Evans.
Yeah, he was great.
Baby, come on. That guy was so good at that.
Yeah.
Because then he also had to be that guy being sad, that guy being mad, that guy being like he had to do all these emotions but still be that guy.
Yeah. You can't fake that.
It was so good.
Yeah.
I thought he should have gotten more awards, but like you said, Jennifer Coolidge, her cleaning up kind of makes up for a lot of that stuff. Because the second I saw her in that first season of White Lotus, I was just like, it's a perfect marriage of the actress who's just ready to pop because she's always been funny.
Yeah,
she was a groundling.
Yeah,
with like Kathy Griffin and shit.
The way she would answer with grunts and groans sometimes was just genius. I mean, her character was so fucking locked down into this woman who was just suffering. She was not a ditzy rich woman. She was somebody who was in deep pain and dragging herself across the floor. Yeah,
which is what like Mike White had to talk her into playing the part.
Yeah,
she just felt like she would just look bad.
Oh. Yeah.
But that's what they always say, right? That the actor needs to, do the thing that scares them the most.
Yes.
So she went through with it. And
yeah. All right, I got a game I want to play with you.
Oh, okay. I already blew the name 5.
I don't think you blew it. I just
biopics.
think I don't know that we came up with
All I'm saying is Rocket Man's on the list. Bohemian Rhapsody is not for me, but I think Rocket Man got undercut just in terms of at the box office and just general, people's feelings about it because it just felt so similar to Bohemian Rhapsody, even though I think they made a better film.
Right.
Same director, even.
All right. So Sid and Nancy.
Yes.
Rocket Man.
Mm-hmm.
Do we say Respect? The Aretha Franklin one?
I can't argue with you on that one. I mean, that's, she's a great figure for that sort of thing.
Buddy Holly, we putting that on the list?
I guess so, because it also, because he was in the plane with some other legends, you really get you get a bundle.
Yeah.
You get Richie Valens and the Big Bopper and Buddy Holly.
Yeah. It's a mutual fund.
Yeah, and then one guy didn't get in the plane. Who was that? There's somebody famous, I think.
Yeah, was it Bill Haley?
It's like Seth MacFarlane not getting on one of the 9/11 planes.
Is that true?
Yeah, I just got reminded of that listening to some old interview.
No shit.
That he didn't and that also the most interesting thing about that story is he doesn't. Like Dana Gould was telling the story, and Dana Gould was like, "I'd never stop thinking about how I was going to be on one of those planes." And he said Seth MacFarlane just acts like is just crazy casual about it. Like, yeah, I didn't get on the plane, but
my mom,
it's math.
My mom was at JFK Airport on 9/11. She had a flight at 9 a.m. and she was sitting on the plane, waiting to take off when the towers got hit, and they canceled the flight.
They grounded the plane, yeah.
Grounded the plane, and they said, just get out of the airport however you can. They just told people, you're not going to get your luggage. Just get out of here. And so she went and got on a bus to Long Island. She lives in Westchester. She went to the fucking wrong direction. They called her sister, and which was hard to do because the cell phones were not, you couldn't get through.
Right.
And she spent like 3 days out in Long Island. Wow. Yeah. And I didn't know. She didn't get through to me, so I didn't know if she was on one of the planes.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That is wild.
Every podcast, 9/11 comes up.
Never forget.
It's weird. A few weeks ago, I forgot. I felt like shit. I was bowling. I was with my friends. I was laughing. We had this running joke about how you never really know somebody until you walk a mile in their shoes, and we're all wearing other people's shoes. And then I realized, fuck, I completely forgot about 9/11.
Yeah, I forget about Dre sometimes, too.
Dre?
Yeah.
What's that?
Dr. Dre. It's a lyric he keeps singing over and over again. One of the songs Eminem sings about, everybody forgot about Dre. Would have been so funny if you knew the reference.
Yeah, I don't know a lot of hip-hop references, but here's what I do know. I know that you...
Yeah. You do the research on what people have coming up.
Well, yeah, but yours is impossible to find. You have no website. You have no listing of your upcoming tour dates. Even DougLovesMovies.com. It's got no dates on it.
It doesn't have any?
Nope.
It's got to have some on there.
In like July, there's like
Seattle,
July or
Seattle
something?
in July.
In July?
July. I've got like festivals and cruises and stuff coming up that I wouldn't necessarily list on my tour dates.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a weird schedule these days because I'm just like happy to, explore lots of different things, like I'm getting into short form stand up again because especially during the pandemic, but then in this last year or so I've just been doing like more sets around town than I used to do.
Right.
I used to be more like long sets out on the road.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't mess with the short sets at home.
I know, I see you around town more now.
So now I do a lot of them, and I'm really getting into it and trying to figure out the next, if I'm gonna, put it all together into something long or, trying to do something. I want, if I ever did a like late night stand up set again, I'd want to do, something, just something different.
Right.
Like change the format in some way.
Right.
Not just come out and just tell jokes.
Yeah. I know. It feels like there's a lot of people doing that.
Or just come out and tell jokes. Like de-emphasize the segues and stuff.
Yeah, right.
Like almost like, because there's no like, there's not that many people that just come out and just joke and then next joke and then next joke. Everything's more storytelling and getting from one thing to another.
Who's great and doesn't get talked about enough is Dimitri Martin.
Yeah, exactly.
He's just a smart...
I want to be like him, but dumb. Like a dumb version of Dimitri.
Okay.
Just stupid.
Yeah.
But he also though has, he's got like art and math brain,
he does conceptual pieces.
Yeah, him and another one that always gets real conceptual and just like, the way his mind works fascinates me is Eugene Merman.
Yeah. For sure.
He's a guy that can go out and open for a fucking indie rock band and the crowd is like, yes.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he like lived in Cape Cod.
Yeah.
He used to have a weekly show for like 10 years. Like every Sunday night he did this same place in Brooklyn.
His voice, like everything he says on Bob's Burgers is just gold.
Yeah,
just the way he just yells everything. Like this little kid that just yells all the time and says the quirkiest shit.
Yeah.
He's so goddamn funny.
But he didn't go to Grossmont College.
Oh my God.
So we're going to play a game called, I'm going to name some famous alum.
Oh no.
But it's going to be mixed in with actors from Grosse Pointe Blank.
Okay.
You're going to have to guess Grossman College or Grosse Pointe Blank.
This sounds like something I'd come up with.
Right.
I love it.
Right. Think about the
I
guests.
love it.
I put a
You
show
do.
together.
You really put some thought into it.
Yeah.
I can't think about the guests on Doug Loves Movies because I don't want the games to be tilted towards or for or against anybody.
Yeah.
I just have to come up with a generic game
Right.
and then have, hopefully the right people playing it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get people that don't know what I'm talking about. Sometimes they know every answer.
Right.
Go ahead. Grosse Pointe Blank or Grossmont High School or college?
College.
I went to both.
Oh, that's right. They have
Proud graduate of both.
with that. No shit.
We're not associated. Just the word Grossmont is on everything. I was born at Grossmont Hospital, worked at Theater Grossmont and Grossmont Mall. Like everything had the word Grossmont on it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's not the most exotic name when you're living in San Diego,
Yeah.
Oh, but I'm over at Grossmont.
Well, where does that come from?
No idea. Just probably somebody's name, I guess.
How would
just
you not
owned
know?
a lot of
Your
property.
entire world revolves around it.
Because it's just so like the school I was at, Grossmont, was even the main school in the Grossmont School District.
Wow.
Like they called the whole district that.
Jewel of the crown.
Yeah. So
It must be a decent school. First of all, it must be a really good sports school because a ton of professional football players came out of that school.
it's a 2-year junior college.
Right.
So I guess that makes sense. They probably transferred to SDSU or.
I think a lot of times they come out of high school and they don't get recruited to a big school. They'll go to a good junior college, get good numbers, and then they'll end up at a bigger college.
That was my plan. And then the bigger college part didn't happen.
What sport?
Oh, no, just in my general my general education.
Your brain.
Yeah. No, I kind of wanted to go to film school, but I didn't commit hard enough to it.
Yeah.
And so I just, I can understand why the schools rejected me.
Right.
But I found I was a very bad high school student. Like I was only interested in the arts. So like I got A's in drama, choir, journalism, debate, every fucking extracurricular kind of thing, or things that are thought of that way, not the main curriculum. And I, excelled at all of that and then just didn't pay attention anywhere else. And so then my grades were too shitty to go to a real college. So I went to junior college for a couple of years and found out that not only applying yourself works, but it's much easier than you think it's going to be.
Than avoiding the work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Procrastination gives me a way bigger headache than just fucking diving in and doing it. And also, I don't know, just something about it. I just turned a corner where it was like exciting to get all A's. Like it was exciting to have what's the top one? 4.0 grade point average. Is it that like I enjoyed that. So I like excelled at junior college. And then by the time that was done, it still wasn't anything that was I wasn't an athlete. So I didn't have I wasn't going to get transferred to some drama school or something.
Right.
Or some telecommunications school. There was just nowhere to move other than I tried to get into like UCLA film school. And just, I know the essay I wrote sucked, I just didn't do it with the right commitment. But then after that, I just immediately, I moved from San Diego to LA and just, kind of had I'm only going to do show business jobs kind of attitude. And then it worked.
Right.
Like I've never had a job that didn't have something to do with entertainment.
Have you considered teaching? Like teaching film in college?
Nah.
Dude, you'd be great. You're such a good teacher. Because you could bring in like John Hamm one week to talk about,
sure, yeah.
Like just not every class, but like once a month you bring in some big fucking director or actor to speak.
Right. Well, I've become friendly over the years because of Doug Those Movies with Leonard Maltin.
Oh.
And he teaches a film class every Thursday night at USC that I used to sneak into when I first moved to LA because I had several friends that went to USC. So I'd sneak into that film class. But Leonard wasn't teaching it at the time. It was another, but it's always been like kind of a, fancy pants movie critic or somebody important teaching this class.
Yeah.
Because the course is just every week they show a movie that's just about to come out from a major studio and a major director, and then that director sits there and talks about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
with Leonard, Amazing. So I keep meaning to crash one of those because that shit is cool. And soon, every year, Leonard gives like the Leonard Maltin Award to some actor at the Santa Barbara Film Festival. But it's, the festival is uniquely set up to be, again, like it's kind of in the heart of award season,
Oh.
So like this year, the recipient's going to be Jamie Lee Curtis because they pick people that they think are also going to be big contenders at all the awards.
Yeah.
And so this year it's going to be Jamie Lee Curtis. So I might go and just crash that where it'll be him sitting with her in front of an audience of a bunch of people, really dressed up.
Nice.
Like a gala or something.
Yeah.
Watching clips from her movies and Leonard like talking to her about it. I got to go to one of those that he did with Brad Pitt a few years ago.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Did you meet Brad?
It was fun. I've met him a few times and I really like him a lot, but then I read about his issues with the troubles between him and Angelina Jolie, and I can't say that I side with him all the time.
It's troubling. It is troubling. I know.
Like his own kids won't speak to him. That's never good.
I know. That's the thing. You look at that story and you go, well, there must be another side, but the side that you're getting is a pretty bad side. Anyway.
Yeah, but he's as a movie star, I just love him so much.
He's a movie star.
I really enjoy him.
I mean, how many movie stars are there? You got Tom Cruise, you got him, you got Daniel Craig. Who else is a movie star?
It's a tough road these days, Even someone as great as John Hamm, like he just did this new Fletch, and it's really good, but like it just didn't.
He didn't put the asses in the seats.
Yeah, I mean, it probably went pretty quickly to streaming, but yeah. But I hope they keep making more because it's good.
Right.
Okay, let's play this game.
All right, here's the first name. Michael Cuditz.
He's in Grosse Pointe Blank briefly.
Correct. David Leisure.
He's from Grossmont College.
Did you know that?
I think I heard that somewhere along the way.
Rachel Bilson.
Rachel Bilson. God, she'd be like such a little baby in Grosse Pointe Blank, and I don't remember ever hearing her go to Grossmont College, but she'd also be way after me. So I'm going to go ahead and say Grossmont College.
That's correct. Lester Bangs.
Lester Bangs. Bangs?
Bangs.
The guy from Rolling Stone?
Yeah.
Played by Philip Seymour Hoffman in the movie?
Yeah.
Gosh, that seems weird that he'd go to Grossmont College, but also why would he be in... Maybe he has a weird cameo in Grosse Pointe Blank. I'm going to say Grosse Pointe Blank.
Grossmont College.
Wow.
Yep. Lester Bangs, first of all, I mean, his character in Almost Famous kind of steals it. He
absolutely steals the movie because not unlike Tom Cruise in Jerry Maguire, only gold comes out of his mouth. He only speaks in like catchphrases and cool remarks.
Nobody cool ever became interesting.
Yeah, everything he says is so quotable. I mean, that's an issue with Cameron Crowe movies from beginning to end, is that he kind of, the ones that work are the ones where it feels more natural that they're saying such brilliant lines all the time.
Right.
My favorite of his movies is Say Anything.
Yeah.
I love that one.
Yeah.
That one's eminently quotable.
Hank Azaria.
He's in Grosse Pointe Blank.
K. Todd Friedman.
Plays his partner. They're detectives. They're partners in Grosse Pointe Blank.
Shit.
You picked a movie that I actually know pretty well.
Stephanie Nicole Garcia Colas.
I gotta assume Gross Point Blank because why would they? How could you find her on a list of alums from Grossmont College if we don't even know who she is, right?
She is a professional wrestler actress known as Nika Bella.
Oh,
Nikki
so she
Bella.
is from Grossmont?
Nikki Bella, Grossmont College.
There's a list online of famous people from there, and she's one of them.
Yes. But she's not big enough that she has a. When you go to or Wikipedia, everything in blue underlined has a link to their own page.
Yeah.
She was the only person that didn't have their own link to another page. It was just, here's the info on her.
Yeah.
She was a wrestler.
All right.
Yeah. Well done.
Can't believe I went to school with such a near celebrity.
The other Grossman College people you might know would be Mark Goffney, who is an armless guitar player.
Oh, okay. I was going to say Robert Hayes from Airplane.
Went to, Oh, really?
He was there shortly before I was. So like, to me, he was always like the benchmark, can I, achieve more fame than him?
Well, he was good friends with David Leisure, and he put David Leisure
in Airplane. Yeah, he's one of the Hare Krishna guys.
Exactly. He shaved his head for the role. Wow.
Yeah.
All right, listen, Doug Benson, I could talk to you all day. You're one of my favorite guests, and I appreciate your generous giving of your time.
This has been great.
It's always fun. I love doing your podcast. I love having you on mine.
It's great. Quid pro quo.
It's a good friendship, even though we don't really hang out beyond podcasts.
We keep it all professional.
Yeah.
We talk at the gigs, standing in the back.
Yeah. There's a lot
waiting to go on.
Yeah.
There's that.
While Caroline Ray burns the light.
Yeah, it's always fun. It's always fun to see you.
Yeah. That was fun when we were in Chicago together.
Right.
Your Doug Loves Movies at the place out there. That
Rosemont
was really
Zanies.
Rosemont Zanies. Yeah.
That was a really good show. I remember that one.
Yeah, that was a good one. We called somebody on the phone.
In fact, speaking of Saget, I think that's who you I think got on the phone at one point.
Yeah.
Because he was, that's the weird thing about Bob Saget is that, I of course have known of him my whole life, but it was only a few years ago that I ran into him somewhere and he was like so friendly to me that's how we became friends. And then he, did my podcast, and I'd go see him sometimes if we're in the same city or something. I'd go see him and hang out and stuff. But we didn't become that close, but it was still like I just got such a small indicator of how huge he'd be in the people's lives that he was close to.
Yeah.
Because he was so present for me, and I'm just some comic he started talking to. Like I ran into him in the lobby at Mel Brooks did a couple nights at the Wynn in Vegas, just talking about his movies and showing clips, and ran into Bob in the lobby, and he's like, Doug Benson, I'm a big fan or whatever. And then he goes, you want to meet Mel?
No.
So then he takes me backstage, yeah.
Wow.
And so I'm finding out Bob Saget's a fan or whatever, and then he's immediately introducing me to Mel Brooks.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What was it like meeting Mel Brooks?
He was so nice, and Bob Saget was like, this guy's really funny, but
Yeah. Right.
Mel's like, I bet you are.
Yeah, right.
If Bob says so, you must be, because, he loved Bob, and Bob loved him,
Yeah. That's my dream guest. That people always say, "Who's your one dream guest?"
Oh man,
Brooks.
He still seems like you could ask him about any of the shit, and he would actually remember.
Yep. I had Carl Reiner on, and he was like that. He had a photographic memory. He was talking about like fucking World War II, and he almost died in World War II. He was like about to ship out the next day. You know the story?
No, but he was like decorated and everything, right?
Well,
like
he was
the real deal.
His platoon was in the Philippines or something, and they were about to launch the next day to go into battle. And a USO show was coming through town. And the lead guy in the USO show was sick. And so he happened to know somebody in the troop because he had done some performing back in New York. And he goes, hey, do you still do that bit about whatever? And he's like, fuck yeah. Put him in the show. He kills. The USO manager says, we want him to stay with us. And he didn't deploy. And his platoon got fucking wiped out the next week.
Of course.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I thought he got, was actually in battle or something.
He might have, maybe he had a little bit of battle action before he got transferred out. That's possible.
Maybe.
But he was a great interview. He was like maybe one of my favorite interviews of all. Who's your favorite interview of all time?
Oh, me interviewing them?
Yeah.
I gotta say the most unusual one was I got, into journalism in high school and college, so much so that like I started writing like for a local paper in San Diego and just kind of hustling, trying to get interviews and stuff. And Lily Tomlin was in town doing, she did Science of Intelligent Life in the Universe, a one-woman show. She did some performances of that or a sequel to that, but she was in San Diego doing it at the Old Globe. And I just sort of figured out how to get in touch with them and say, hey, I write for this paper, the Daily Californian. and I got, like, they said, yeah, come down and we'll, so I was just in a room. I'm like, 20-ish, 21 maybe.
Yeah.
And I'm in a room with Lily Tomlin, just the two of us for like an hour.
Really?
Yeah. And I half the time didn't know what the fuck she was talking about because she was really had a lot of political opinions and things that were important to her that she was telling me about. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like talking about, oil and other countries and stuff and war. And I was like, Lily Tomlin, could you... After you say all that, can you add, and that's the truth?
Maybe that's how I should end every podcast. And that's the truth.
Yeah, classic.
Thank you, Doug Benson.
Thank you, Greg.
Fitzsimmons.
Oh, God, it was so close.